maybe the biggest villain in college sports does indeed exist in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And maybe it's not the one that you're first thinking of, because it's been quite the offseason for LSU coaches. We all know about Lane Kiffin. We've talked about that one in nauseum with the quotes in, Vanity Fair? Was that the magazine that he gave the very disingenuous quotes about really kind of digging up the skeletons that are in the state of Mississippi's closet, not just the school of Ole Miss. He decided to bury the whole state with it. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the way he left Ole Miss, deciding to bail on a team that was playing in the college football playoff.
Cannot be overstated. Left in the middle of the team's most successful season ever and was like, I got better things to do.
Yeah. Oh, the thing we worked all season for? Sorry, you guys can handle that. I'm going to go to LSU for the same amount of money that you would have paid me. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm going to do. That's how little I think of you guys. But Will Wade's trying his best to catch up. Because Will Wade did something yesterday in the span of 8 hours. Will Wade decided to not even go into the transfer portal, because you have to be playing in college basketball to be in the transfer portal. But he signed Saliu Niang, who was the number 58 pick by the Cleveland Cavaliers in the 2025 NBA draft, played in the G League this year. And then picked up R.J. Lewis. If that name sounds a little more familiar, yes, that was the Big East Player of the Year in 2025. Yes, he did sign with an NBA team as an undrafted free agent and play for the Jazz and Celtics G League affiliates. 2 guys. And now already this year, he has signed multiple players from Europe, which is fine. There are plenty of teams that have done that. Players that are coming from Europe with only a handful of eligibility because of their age. But he's bringing in guys, one guy that is 25 years old. Jesus. Will Wade is making a mockery of college basketball right now. And you know what, one thing I don't want to hear is hey, Alabama and Baylor really opened up the floodgates here. Alabama brought in Charles Bediako. He was in the middle of a G League season. Well, guess what happened? Charles Bediako did what he could to put this thing in the courts, and it allowed him to play 2 weeks of college basketball. And then guess what happened?
It took away his playing.
Courts weren't in Tuscaloosa anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they said, this is ridiculous. How is not allowing you to play college basketball when you're already employed as a G League basketball player on an Exhibit 10 contract, keeping you from being able to benefit financially from your talents? How is this detrimental to your career if we don't let you go back to college? We already have precedent that if you take this thing to court, you might pass with, Judge Jim in Baton Rouge. Yeah, he might be cool with it. But guess what? Once it gets sent elsewhere, you're not going to win, and these players won't play. This is just a mockery of the sport right now. Just bringing in whoever you want and saying, we'll figure out the rest later, because it doesn't do LSU any good, because you don't know who you have on your team because you have pending court cases. This is something you should be talking about with Georgia football, not with anybody in basketball in terms of their eligibility, because you decided to sign grown men, to sign guys who, the guy from Europe, old enough to be off his parents' insurance at this point in time, to play college basketball.
And that's their strategy. That's his intended strategy. We know this idea of getting older. You can't coach old. We've heard that. But as of now, looking at what his roster is, 25, 23, 23, 23, 22, 23.
And that's what fans are going to see when they're on the floor. They're going to look like, why? They're look a lot older than all the rest of these, players on other teams that they're going to play. I mean, it's not a good look at all.
And so what Will Wade is exploiting a little bit of a gray area here, a little bit of a loophole, and he is trying to bend the rules as much as he can, because that's what Will Wade has always done. They knew this when they signed him. They knew this when they got him back. NC State, you're not exempt from this, because you knew when you signed him, you knew what type of dude he was. This has always been Will Wade's bag, and now he's just found another way to, even in an era where essentially what he was doing is now culpable. He's like, that's not good enough. I need to find another way to get outside the rules because I'm always looking for an extra advantage because maybe I'm not that great of a coach. And here's a bigger point, and I think you can speak to this more than I can. Will Wade has never won anything.
Not anything in March.
Very similar profiles to the other dude across the street at the football facility. I feel like these two were exactly who we think they are. Very high profile dudes that have skated around the system, skirted the system, and have yet to win at all.
Lane Kiffin and Will Wade are definitely spiritually related
guys, right?
Very, very similar. And the thing that's so infuriating with Will Wade is that I think he's a good enough coach to not have to do this. That's the thing. I think he's a solid coach, a really good basketball coach. I think he's got good defensive systems in play, runs a style that I think players want to play for. And like I'm cool with 22, maybe 23-year-olds because if you're a super senior, COVID messed up a lot when it comes to who has an extra year, who doesn't. And the NCAA has already messed all of that up. So I get it, right? Rick Pitino's getting older players all the time. But they're players who haven't gone and played professionally, right? And I exempt a lot of the European guys from that, but I exempt the European guys to a point until you reach a certain age, right? Like Joe Girard, who was a guard for Syracuse and Clemson, was tweeting out about in reaction to one of the players LSU signed, said, I've been playing against this guy for a couple of years now overseas. And he was playing in that league longer than I was. And he's coming back to college? Are you kidding me? Like, you want to bring an 18 or 19, maybe even a 20 or 21-year-old from Europe. Okay, fine, I get it. They don't play college sports over there. They don't play, like, really high school sports. If you're any good at all, like, good enough to play in the future for a long time, like for a living, you're going to be playing professional basketball at age 16 or 17 years old at a certain level. It may not be the top tier, top flight league, but you're going to be playing not for a school of any kind. That's just how things work over there. I'm accepting of the nuance required to take that information. But what I'm not cool with is saying, hey, this guy's about to turn 26 for the season. He's an 8-year veteran in that league. Let's bring him overseas. Let's bring him overseas here to America and have him play college basketball. No, dude. There will be a handful of players that are European players that will get drafted in the NBA draft this summer who are going to be at least 3 years younger than that guy. And the RJ Lewis thing's ridiculous. Is absolutely. He played for 2 G League affiliates this year.
Yeah.
And that's a guy who had a chance to come back to St. John's. He didn't exhaust his eligibility. He had a chance. He had an offseason after they got bounced because he went on a milk carton for an entire second half against Arkansas in the second round of the NCAA tournament, had a chance to say, you know what, Coach Pitino, I'll come back, or I'll enter the transfer portal. He had a chance. He decided to enter his name in the NBA draft foolishly because he was not getting drafted, didn't get drafted, and now wants to come back. This is like,
it's ridiculous.
What are we doing here? And there's a good chance that he's never even going to be able to see the floor. What good does this do him? This is like 50 levels of stupid here. And if you're Will Wade, you've already gotten yourself back into the good graces of the sport because we've accepted the sins that you've committed previously are no longer sins in college sports now. But now you want to spit in the face of anybody that believed in you. You spit in the face at NC State. You straight up lied to Boo Corrigan and said, hey, yeah, this is what I need for next year, knowing damn well I'm not going to be here.
Not going to be here.